Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that covers all things marketing. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast gives you the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. Whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand, you've come to the right place. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast starts now.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquith, and thank you so much for joining me today. If you're not already, please remember to subscribe to our podcast. We post new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We talk about all things marketing. I talk about marketing strategies, trends. I teach you how to set up accounts if maybe you don't know how and you're just starting out. And always we cover what is new in the marketing world because, as we all know, it is constantly changing, so we need to always stay on top of our game and ensure that we are creating the best marketing of our ability, which is what I am here to help you with. So if you have questions, comments, or concerns about anything we talk about in any episode, feel free to reach out through social media or write a review down below because I always read them and I love hearing from you guys. So, without further ado, let's get right into today's episode. Okay, guys, today's episode is going to be a deep dive into Instagram. Instagram is my favorite app to use for any sort of marketing. It is a great digital platform for you to use your advertising on. And it was voted the #1 used platform for influencers in 2019. So it's not just me. A lot of people are on Instagram these days. So you really need to know the ins and outs of it. If you're someone who is just starting out in the marketing world, this podcast will really help you get a handle on Instagram. If you're looking for a podcast that gives you a more general view on Instagram, but kind of teaches you how to set everything up, I did record that episode, so go take a look at that, and then come back for that you can get a little bit more information on Instagram itself. But to start out today's podcast, we are going to talk about what is new in the marketing world. So the first story of today is that not only has Friends left Netflix, The Office is next. And if you listen to the podcast on Wednesday, then you know that we talked about how Friends was leaving Netflix at the beginning of 2020. And I was really curious to see how it was going to affect their marketing strategy. And one of the ideas that I threw out there was maybe they were going to start promoting The Office more because The Office is their #1 streaming show. So, they're losing their second most streamed, but hey, we still have The Office. We're still checking it out. But now it's been announced that they're getting rid of The Office too. So honestly, I'm speaking just from the heart here, guys. I have no reason to keep my Netflix subscription anymore if they get rid of The Office. I'm barely holding on without Friends. I'm not going to be able to hold on without The Office. Like, what am I going to watch, Frasier for the 5th time? No, I want to watch The Office for the 11th time. But it is set to leave. We still have a full year, guys. It is set to leave January 2021. And apparently it was bought by NBC Universal for a whopping $500 million. That is crazy. Crazy considering NBC Universal owned the show first. It was created for NBC Universal, so it's so interesting that they're buying it back just for you can, watch reruns. And honestly, I don't have cable anymore, and I'm not going to get cable just so that I might be able to catch an episode of The Office that won't be in the correct order that I want to watch it in. So, I don't know. I'm upset, and I'm wondering what Netflix is doing and where this is going to go next, and above all else, this is the marketing podcast, so I am curious to find out what is going to happen with their marketing. How are they going to come back from this? Their 2 biggest shows are leaving, and they're just letting them go, and I'm not getting any sort of marketing done towards me to warn me of this, or to be like, hey, we know The Office is leaving, and we've seen that you've watched it a million times, but don't worry, we're bringing this spin-off show of The Office back or something like that. They're not marketing about it. So I'm so curious to see what is going to happen next. And I'm going to continue to follow this story. This is update number 2 about what Netflix is doing. And yeah, we'll stay tuned. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. The second story of today is that Coca-Cola has launched a $10 a month subscription service. So on this podcast, we talk a lot about digital marketing, but something that I definitely want to end up talking more about, and maybe it'll become an entire episode, is the idea of a subscription service, because it is such a good way to really get your product out there and a great way to market to people who haven't had your product before, and an even better way to sort of give a gift to those people who you've always been marketing to and they always buy from you. It's a great way to treat them. And honestly, if Coca-Cola is doing it, it's obviously a good idea. Coca-Cola is always at the top of their marketing game. So this is that the first 1,000 insiders, you're going to be called a Coca-Cola insider, you will get an exclusive first taste of 20 plus new beverages. Whoa! Okay, so first of all, when I was just reading this, I was like, are they just going to get Coke delivered to them? Like Coca-Cola delivered to them every week? Like, I wouldn't want that. A Coke is like 50 cents. I can just go down to the store. No, you're going to be getting to try new beverages, new soft drinks before anyone else. And you guys have to think of what Coca-Cola actually owns. Like, they own so much more than just a regular soft drink, right? So you're definitely not just getting 20 cases of Coke Zero. Like, this is a big deal for somebody who, enjoys beverages, or anybody, I guess. I don't know. If you're someone who drinks things other than water, I think you would appreciate this subscription box. So, Macrea O'Hare, who is the digital experience manager for Coca-Cola North America, said, as a total beverage company, we're constantly looking for ways to innovate, not only in our products, but also in our consumer-centric experiences we offer. People want choice, convenience, and customization. The Insider Club will allow us to showcase the diversity of the drinks we offer and get some of our newest innovations into the hands of fans who want to be among the first to enjoy them. So I think that says it all there, is that it is trying to, as I said, they're using the subscription service to attract new customers, but also pay a little bit more loyalty to those who have been around for a long time, who are already psyched about the product and who are excited to be a part of this insider group. So it'll be a great way to not only get the product out there, get the new products out there, but then have these 1,000 insiders market the products for them. You can bet on the fact that these 1,000 insiders will all be posting about their subscription boxes. There will be unboxing videos. It'll be all over the internet. So we're all going to get to see what those 20 plus new beverages are. Even though we may not all get to taste them, we'll all definitely get to see a review of them. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. I don't know if you're a fan of Coca-Cola, maybe you could try to get in there now and be one of the first 1,000 insiders. But if not, let's just keep an eye on this story and see how it does affect Coca-Cola's marketing. And perhaps this is an idea that you want to do with your company's marketing. You don't have to do it to the extent that Coca-Cola is doing it. But subscription boxes and subscription services are not a new concept, and they are definitely something that are attainable for any company size. All right, the third story we're going to talk about is Disney's stock. Shocker of the year, it nearly grew 32% in 2019 thanks to the streaming service Disney Plus. I know I was super shocked about this too. Who would have guessed that the streaming service would have boosted the stock so much? So honestly, this isn't much more of a story than that, other than the fact that the Walt Disney World production company is always killing it on their marketing game, and this is no different. I know I've talked in other podcasts about how I was a little disappointed by the content that was put on Disney Plus, but clearly it's working, so we're going to keep watching and seeing what happens next with this streaming service and the marketing that surrounds it. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, we are going to be talking about all things Instagram. We're going to be taking a deep dive into the app and looking at the things your account definitely needs, a posting schedule for you, and I'm even going to give you some common hashtags that will help boost your likability. That will help boost your likes on the page. Stay tuned for that. You are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll be right back.
Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and before the break, we are talking about the top 3 news stories that are happening in the world of marketing right now. The first one being that Friends and The Office will not be on Netflix after 2021. I'm upset about it. And I'm excited to see, I'm upset, but I'm excited to see how Netflix is going to handle this from a marketing perspective. Already, people are enraged over Twitter and Instagram, so I am very excited to see how they are going to respond. We also talked about Coca-Cola launching a new subscription service and how that is totally something that you are able to do with your company for your marketing. And we talked about what a great idea it is, and we're excited to see what's going to happen with that as well. So now that we're back from our break, we are going to take a deep dive into the world of Instagram. So Instagram, for a lot of people, is probably a pretty common idea, a pretty common platform. You probably know your way around it because you probably have a personal account. However, if you don't have a personal account or you don't have a business account, then stay tuned for this because we're going to take a look at all the things Instagram. So the first thing I want to take a look at are what are the needs that you need for your Instagram account. These are the things that are the most important to your account. They're going to make the difference between an amateur account and an account that should actually be used for marketing. So the first thing is that you're going to have content that is curated for your brand. You're not going to have anything on there that doesn't make sense. So what often happens for a lot of companies is that for a long time, one person is running the social media who's not in marketing, and they sort of put their own spin on it. They put their own voice on it. And then later when a professional social media marketer comes in and they try to change things up, there's suddenly a shift on the Instagram because it's no longer a personal account, it's a professional account. So if you're in that situation right now, I recommend going through your old post and deleting anything that seems too personal. If you posted about what you had for lunch, if you posted what you had to drink over the weekend, if you posted a selfie and that is not your brand at all, get rid of it. You need to figure out what your brand is and go from there. Anything else does not matter. I don't care if it's content. I don't care if it got a lot of likes. If it doesn't match your brand, you need to get rid of it. The second thing that is important in creating an Instagram is having Instagram stories and highlights already on your page. Now, Instagram stories, we're going to talk about a posting schedule later, and it is important to not overpost on your stories, but it's still important to post them. But what's more important when you're first setting up your account is to have your highlights on your profile all match and look coherent together. And what I usually do is that I pick a color, the brand color obviously, and I make them all that color, and then just in whatever the brand font is, you write over top what the highlight is going to be. So if you really want to highlight, say you're a real estate company and you really want to highlight a specific community, then you write that community on the highlight. And for those of you that don't know, a highlight is a story that lasts on your page forever. So people can go to your profile, hit the highlight, and see what your Instagram story was a month ago. So it's definitely a really great marketing tool if you want to showcase events that you've hosted, sales that you've had before, or contests. Or a lot of people use stories now to talk about like their teams, and so having a highlight that's for your team would also be really, really great. So the next thing that's super important for your account is to make it a business account. And in order to do that, you do need a Facebook page, and you need to go through all of that. It is super simple. You don't need to use the Facebook page. I have an Instagram account and a Facebook page, but I don't use the Facebook page. So, and this is on my personal one, the GSMC Marketing Podcast does have a Facebook page. You can go follow it. But on my personal account, I have a business profile on Instagram. And then I don't use the business profile on Facebook. It stays inactive and nobody can even find it. So if you don't want a Facebook account, but you want the Instagram business, don't worry. You're able to create both and then just not use the Facebook one. So once you have all that done, and there are some obvious things you should also be putting in there. I've talked about them in other podcasts, but just to go over, if you're creating a checklist, have a strong profile image, have a strong bio, have a link to your website, and have at least 6 posts on your feed before you tell anyone to follow you. This way the account looks very professional and clean when people go to it immediately. It doesn't look like someone just put it together an hour ago. Even though maybe you did, you don't want it to look like you did. Okay, now that you have your account all ready to go, let's talk about how often you should be posting. Now, a lot of people, when they start going on Instagram, like do an Instagram dump is what it's called. For those of you who know the actor Milo Ventimiglia from This Is Us and Gilmore Girls, he does this quite a lot. He will post like 17 photos in 1 hour and then not post again for a month. And here's the thing. He's doing great with his marketing. Like millions of fans, people love all of his photos, but also he's not a business. And he's not a professional trying to sell something. He's an actor who's using it to stay connected with his fans. Don't be a Milo. Instead, be a Topher Grace. This is going to sound really funny, but I was reading an interview recently where he was talking about why he joined Instagram was because someone told him that not being on it didn't mean you weren't doing anything. It meant you were going backwards, like the world was moving on without him. So he committed to posting twice a week, and his following grew and grew and grew. And so I'm not saying that twice a week is the rule, but what I am saying is that you need to make sure you're always posting on a consistent level. He stuck to 2 days a week. You need to stick to, I would say eventually you need to get to 5 days a week. The weekends are definitely a great time to be posting, but if you don't have that content right away, don't worry about it. But whatever number you pick between 2 and 5 or 2 and 7, it needs to be consistent. If you're posting every Monday, you are posting every Monday. If you miss a Monday, your viewership is going to notice. People aren't going to connect with your content in the same way. So pick a day of the week that you're going to post, or pick multiple days as I'm suggesting, and make sure you are always posting content on those days. So now for your Instagram stories, that's a little bit different. In the same way that you need to always be posting on them, you don't need to post on them with the same level of consistency that you need to with your post. A post needs to be every Monday at 12 o'clock. Whereas an Instagram story, people will feel that that's a little too rigid and a little too scheduled. Instagram stories always need to be organic and a little bit more fun and a little more lively. So what I suggest people always do when they're starting to get going, when they start going with social media, is I suggest that they commit to doing one live-ish event on their Instagram story a week to start. Eventually, I want you doing that every day. However, to start, doing one a week. So every Friday afternoon, you're in your shop and you're going to pull out your phone and you're going to record an Instagram story about what is happening at your shop that day. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to look like a $1 million movie. It just needs to get out there. People need to know that you're a human behind the Instagram profile. People need to know that there's a human behind the Instagram profile. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and take another short break from the podcast, but when we come back, I'm going to tell you some tips and tricks of what you can be doing on Instagram to help get those follower numbers up, get those like numbers up, and really start using the platform to its full ability. So stay tuned for that, because you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and thank you for joining me today. Today's episode has been a lot about Instagram, what to do, how to do it, and why to do it. And before I let you go today, I want to go over some fun tips and tricks that you may not know about Instagram that is going to help you level up in the Instagram world. It's going to help you get more followers. It's going to help you push your boundaries a little bit more than you expected. And it's going to help you achieve the goals you really want to achieve on the platform. So the first tip I'm going to give is kind of a fun one. I recommended that you do a live-ish event on your social media every week through your Instagram stories. So when you're doing that, say that you're at your shop and you're going to be showing people how to make tea with the tea leaves that you have in the shop, and like, oh, if you're stressed out, try lavender tea leaves. If you're have bad acne, try rose leaves or something like that. Guys, I'm not a tea expert. I'm trying to be a marketing expert, not a tea expert. So give me a break on the tea stuff. But so when you're doing that and you're showing people, geotag it. You can geotag it by swiping up on the story and adding the geotag button, and then add your location. By adding your location, people in that area or people who are trying to find out more about that area can see your story first. So it's a really great way to like up the following on who's watching your stories. And if you don't like the look of it, you can shrink it down, throw it in the left corner, and it's still going to get you all those followers, but it's not going to be horribly distracting. The same goes for using a hashtag on your story, using a GIF, or any sort of fun sticker. If you make your stories fun and seem a little bit more silly, people are going to watch them just for the sake of the hashtag. Or for the sake of the hashtag or the GIF. I mean, I've watched a story before because I really wanted to see the Taylor Swift gift that was going around. So definitely utilize those and go from there. The next tip I'm going to give you is for hashtags. Now, a simple hashtag to use for every single post is actually your airport's initials. So I'm from Calgary originally, and their airport initials are YYC. It's the YYC terminal. So on all of the Instagram posts I used to do for the companies I worked at for Calgary, I would hashtag it YYC. It's a very common hashtag in a lot of cities that people use it to locate the city is by using the airport terminal. So it'll definitely get you more likes on that post and a little bit of a bigger following. The third one I'm going to suggest that you do is to follow companies that do the same thing you do, but on a larger scale. So say that you're a media company, follow Disney. Say that you're a hamburger company, follow McDonald's. These people are not your direct competition right now, but they are doing the same thing you're doing, so they can give you ideas, inspiration, and a little bit of guidance that'll help you. So now when people are looking to maybe go buy a burger, but they're looking for something different from McDonald's, but a similar idea, they can hit the following list and find you in a category with other people that share similar interests. So it's going to get you a little bit more views and a bigger following from following companies that have a bigger following already. Okay, everyone, that is it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. And as always, if you have questions, comments, or concerns about anything we talked about in today's podcast, please write a review down below and let me know, because I love hearing from you guys and I love creating these podcasts, so I would love to get your opinion. You've been listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the GSMC Marketing News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to any podcast app and you'll find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, you'll find it all on the GSMC Podcast Network. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.